Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. Michael, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm so excited. We are going to be talking all about rotten candy. I think it's really going to make people crave candy, so I think it'll be fun. And there's so much to talk about. You just launched nationwide in Sprouts, which we're obviously going to celebrate because that's a huge announcement. And if people have, if they're really craving candy right now, I really think you should go check out Rotten's website, their branding. We're going to be talking a lot about that today because I am obsessed with it and obviously a marketer by heart. So go check out eatrotten.com, do all the things, and then come back to this podcast to learn about the technical side. But as our listeners know, I always pass off the microphone to our guests to give our background, give context for everyone. So, Michael, say hi to our audience and tell us about yourself.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. Super excited to chat as well. And thank you for sharing that Sprouts news. If anyone lives by a Sprouts, you can go find two of our products there right now with some more exciting announcements there soon. But right now you can find our original crunchies and our sour crunchies. So quick background on myself. My name's Michael. I live in Santa Monica and I'm the founder and CEO of Rotten. Rotten is a better for you candy company. So we make candy with way less sugar, gut-friendly prebiotic fiber, and then none of the artificial dyes. And I sort of fell into the world of CPG. I worked in e-commerce and startups before, but the candy industry was truly just like something I loved as a consumer. And so really kind of was brand new to the industry there. And yeah, I think just being a huge sour gummy candy freak and wanting healthier options, that was really kind of the driving force for me.
Yeah, I love it. I have to ask before we get into like more serious professional side of things, how
Yeah.
many like bags are you eating? Like I want to ask a day, but we'll give you some cushion and ask like a month. Like if you had to guess.
I love this question. And I'm so curious, like if you ask it to a bunch of other founders that you talk to, I would love to see someone's survey results for this because
Yeah.
I now am like candy it's always around me and I'm always talking about it. It's work for me. And so I actually find that I don't eat as much now as I did before or when I was first starting Rotten, which is sad, I guess, but is just the honest truth. I think it's funny at trade shows, we'll be sampling the product and so I'm standing at the booth and, get hungry and our candy is there. And so I end up snacking on it a lot at trade shows. And I'm always like, oh, wow, I haven't had that in a little while and it's still delicious. We're doing a good job.
That's good. That's good you have that. Like where maybe yeah, the habit of eating isn't as prevalent, but when you have it, you're like, oh damn, that's good. Yeah,
Mhm.
I feel like I am gonna actually start asking this more and more to my guests because I from the few that I've asked, it has been this same trend of like now that it's surrounding me, I'm like I actually don't eat it as much, which
Yeah,
is so funny because obviously you think that it would be the exact opposite. Um, and I,
completely. Yeah.
yeah. And I know like a founder who has a chocolate brand, and I am like, I have such a sweet tooth, but like chocolate is, I mean, I can't understand. She was like, yeah, I just don't have the craving for it anymore. And I was like, wow, you have some of the best chocolates in the world. Like, how are you not just like eating all the product as it's coming like literally off the line? So
I
that
know.
that's always
Weird.
a fun one.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, sweet. So, no, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to say sweet so many times during this podcast episode, non-ironically.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll just cut. That'll be like the promo for the episode. It's just me saying
Mhm.
sweet, 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 and then just eat rotten. So, okay, now we have kind of like fun stuff out of the way. Like I mentioned, it's going to continue to be fun. Your branding is awesome. I love it. So, but obviously want to go into founder story a little bit. I think it is always so fun to hear just different elements that our audience connects with of, you know, moments from your story and your brand. So you said, you alluded, you kind of fell into the space, had always been around e-commerce. So give us a little bit more of the background of like, having a sweet tooth. How did you start to parlay that into like, okay, I want a better for you, candy? How did you like start to decide, okay, I'm going to be the one to do it?
Yeah. So I guess, backing up a little bit, I grew up in San Francisco, youngest of four, and it was my older brother who, introduced me to sour gummy candy. He is the real one who's obsessed, and that, trickled down to me. But so, like always had it around, was always eating it, like huge thing for us to, be on road trips, buy it in gas stations, convenience stores. Once we were able to, like, started ordering it in Amazon on bulk. And, I think also loved like trying some of the new like texture innovation that was coming out in the like gummy space, and multiple textures and all that. Ended up going to Stanford, studied engineering, thought I was going to go work in tech, like in the startup space, and ended up going to work for an e-commerce startup there as one of the first two employees, and absolutely loved it. Like, I think one of the most fun years of my life, and knew I wanted to start my own company. What that was going to be was kind of unclear at the time. And there were, a couple different things that were happening that ultimately really pushed me into making a better for you candy. One was I was starting to try to eat way healthier. And the main way I was doing that was really trying to cut back on my sugar intake. So, like, I had stopped drinking soda and was really cutting back on candy too, but missed it. And so went out and tried, both zero sugar gummy candy options and then some of the low sugar options out there. And I wasn't super happy with what I found. I think the products didn't totally meet like what I was expecting them to taste like, or the texture. And then the other piece was like they were all very branded as like diet or healthy candies. And even though that's the product I wanted, it felt lame. Like I didn't want to be eating it. It wasn't fun anymore. And so around that same time, I had just moved to LA, and Liquid Death had just launched here. And I was such a fan of that way of thinking around like what would happen if you branded a healthy product with in a lot of ways like unhealthy looking brand. And that combined with the fact that that was what I was looking for in a product from the candy space was really inspirational. And so, started Rotten from there, and ended up talking to a bunch of other people, like reached out to different groups from college, high school. I did this program called Venture for America. And so, had focus groups with people from Venture for America. And like what I kept hearing over and over from people was, yes, we want to eat healthier. Like that is a goal of ours. But this idea of healthy candy is really off-putting because it sounds like it's not going to taste good. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, awesome. Like that's kind of how I was feeling, turned off by what looked like healthy candy when that was the product I wanted. And so with Rotten, it became kind of all about like, how can we build the brand and the experience to feel candy first? And then but kind of inside deliver you the healthier product that you are looking for.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. I feel like this is the age-old discussion of where branding comes into a play, right? Or where branding comes into play of what is the messaging, like away obviously from the product, because obviously, like you said, the product on the inside is going to stay the same no matter what the branding is. You're looking as a consumer, you're looking at brands and you're like, I'm used to seeing bright and colorful, messaging around it being fun and nostalgic and all these other feelings that the packaging emotes versus traditionally more, I don't want to say like of a clinical look, but kind of clinical of like all white packaging or very like clean and healthy, like simple products. It's traditional for them to have like all white packaging and like one color maybe. And so to kind of like flip it on its head, like Liquid Death was doing with canned water, like what you're doing with Rotten, it's like this very like it catches your attention, right? Like the marketing case study is there of like it grabs your attention, but it also plays on that nostalgic factor of, okay, I don't want something that feels like it's robbing me of the experience, not just like the flavors or the profile of the like our traditional candies on the market right now. So I see that in your branding where it's like, okay, how can we kind of have this play on the experience of it's a better for you candy, but like even the name like being called Rotten, it's like, oh, that entices you of it's kind of what's the word? Starts with an O.
Oxymoron.
Thank you. Yes. Oxymoron.
Yeah. Yeah,
um
completely. I think I think it's also important, like as an early stage brand, to think through like how you break through the noise. People develop like pattern recognition. Like you think about someone scrolling a social feed, and you think, okay, you think about like thumb stop for digital content, and you're like, what's gonna make them stop? Because it looks different. It's not like what they're expecting to see come next. And like we thought about and we think about our branding and the way it exists in the physical world, in the aisle, et cetera, like in that same way. Like how do we bring the unexpected? Because if it's expected, people are less likely to really spend time and engage with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think this parlays nicely into, as we're talking about capturing attention and branding, into like a conversation about acquisition. Because obviously, this podcast is called Retention Chronicles. I focus mostly on retention, but you have to you have to have acquisition to have retention, right? So walk me through, I think like touching on uh, branding as we have, but like how do you draw the consumer in to be like, okay, this is obviously a product that it's within the bag, it's taste, right? Like that's CPG is great because you can convince a lot of people with the taste when they're sampling, or it's a, you have like single serve packets and you guys also have value packs. So you can convince a lot of people when they're trying it. But if they're just buying it and you're not there to give samples or there's, no experience there previously, it also can be a trickier thing because they can't feel it, they can't taste it yet, they don't have the sensory experience. So
Yeah.
walk me through, like with a product like yours, how you approach acquiring new customers.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's so different for every category. When you look at candy, candy is primarily shopped in retail environments. Online e-commerce is growing very, very quickly, but it's still a small portion of sales. And that makes sense because I cannot remember the stat off the top of my head right now, but some very high percentage of sales in our category are impulsive sales. So even when you go, when you think about your shopper in a grocery store, oftentimes candy will not be on the grocery list. It will be purchased more impulsively in the store. And so having online work with that can be challenging because there's just more friction with online shopping that makes impulsive purchases sometimes more challenging. You also think about the bundle sizes you sell online to make the economics work. And that also has friction with an impulsive buy because it's more than a few dollars. So all of that, I think, are some headwinds for online acquisition with candy. I think the way we confront that is we really do try and lean in with the product and deliciousness because ultimately, the online purchases, they are still going to be driven by impulse. And, when someone's buying a bunch of sour gummy candy online, it's probably because they're hungry. The visuals looked good. It looked like it tasted good. I think we lead with that because we're aware of that's what's going on with the shopper when they're, in purchase mode. I think we bring in more of the like health benefits and reasons to buy on the back end because we are a better for you premium product, and so it's important for us to communicate that to the customer. But definitely we lead with showing visuals of the candy, people talking about the taste. If we're going with sour candy, like showing a visual sour reaction. So those are definitely kind of some of the key tactics that we use for acquisition.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That obviously, like I know, oh gosh, I'm blanking on who it was, but it's like if you can lead with a product demo, right? Like it'll sell itself of like, okay, seeing people's reactions or, the visual of the candy itself or the product itself. And I feel
Mhm.
like the point of impulse buying is really, really interesting because typically if someone is shopping online, they're going to do more research on it than maybe in retail because they have their computer right there. They're not like rushing out of a grocery store trying to just like throw things in the basket. Or at least that's how I grocery shop. It's just chaos. So maybe people do more research before they go into stores. But I know I do more research when I'm shopping online. Typically, you're right. Like you're not going to have as many impulse buys versus in store. And I feel like you can even segment that out a little bit further of first time buyers versus repeat buyers, where first time buyers, maybe it'll be more of a impulse buy online, but then assuming, right, like customers have a great experience with your brand, they like the product, then they come back and then it's an intentional, like, okay, I know I like this product. I want to bulk up and buy whatever so that I have it in stock because I know I will reach for a candy and I want Rotten to be there when I do. So I think that's also like an even deeper layer of that like impulse buy and acquisition.
Yep, completely.
And I feel like one of the things that I also just obviously candy is, and especially in the US, is Halloween.
Mhm.
And I feel like, obviously like October, November, December, we have a lot of holidays that hit, and a lot of those holidays are centered around food. It's just a big part of our socialization. And so I want to know, like, is that kind of like your Super Bowl, or like, how do you think about specifically the seasonality of candy, or even like Valentine's Day, right? Like things like that, because we are coming up on Halloween, which is crazy to say, but I think it would be a fun and very like poignant conversation to be had while I have you here.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, candy as a whole is seasonal, but then, you look at our branding and you're like, wow, that is a, a dead ringer for Halloween. So I think we've seen some seasonality, but probably not as much as you would expect. I think because we are making everyday candy products. Like we're making the types of products that people snack on daily, and we are a better for you brand that it does like even out our sales a little bit. But I will say one thing we do really lean into with Halloween is it's a great time for us with our retail partners to get secondary off-shelf placements. So we have these awesome shippers, like that's actually an old version of one right behind me. And Halloween becomes a great moment for us as a brand in these stores to like get the product on those shippers, like out in the aisle and away from the candy aisle. So if you're not, specifically looking for candy, you might still see our brand. So it's a great kind of seasonal moment for that. I think, you'll also see us more from like a brand marketing perspective lean into Halloween. And we're definitely seeing people who love Halloween like start to celebrate it earlier and earlier every year. Forget who did this, but someone had a LinkedIn post like back in June of a palette of like Halloween themed snacks or candy at Costco. And it was like, wow, even in early summer, we've already started celebrating Halloween because like people just love Halloween. So I think for us as a brand, we'll see a big benefit from that as we, lean into using Rotten and the Rotten style branding to, celebrate Halloween with your friends or family or whoever it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I feel like every holiday is just, it keeps moving up and up and up.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so it's like at some point they're gonna overlap if they keep going, and then it's just gonna reset the whole
Uh-huh.
calendar, and we'll all still be trying to catch up to the calendar endlessly. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I feel like it's interesting to think about, like maybe not trick or treat Halloween, or like like the actual holiday, the actual day itself, but just like the seasonality of people being in the mindset. And like you said, with branding, like people are like, oh, that's so interesting. Like you have, is it a monster? Do you have a name for?
Yeah, it's a freak, and his
Okay,
name
okay,
is
that's what I thought. I was
Frankie.
like, I feel like
Frankie
I
Freak.
remember.
Yeah,
Yes. What is it?
Frankie Freak.
Frankie Freak. Yes, yes, yes. So
How
just
could you
very,
forget?
yeah, exactly. So sorry, Michael. How could I? That's on me. So yeah, just like very fun branding, very fun playing on, obviously, yeah, just like the rotten and going crazy with the candy. So we've covered acquisition. Are there any other things that, you've learned along the way in terms of acquisition where it's like helpful, where, maybe you thought about it one way, but you pivoted? Anything else that in the realm of acquisition would be great for our audience to hear from you?
Yeah, I think, and lots of people are already aware of this, but I think it was, new to me just how helpful it is like leverage the founder for content, like the founder story, and it just resonates a lot with people. And so as you're looking to acquire customers, like oftentimes, founders in industries like this, like we're solving our own problems. And if you're having that problem, there's a lot of other people out there having that same problem. So I think just talking about it is super effective and something that I wasn't fully aware of. I am not someone who loves recording, content with myself. So it wasn't something I wanted to do when I initially set out and started Rotten, but it's required of me for the job. So I do it now.
Yeah, maybe you could, reframe it that way, where it's like it's work. It's not, it's not me just doing it. Yeah, that's great. I feel like a lot of people relate to that, and both on the consumer and operations side, right? Where it's, if you work in this industry, you obviously interface with a lot more operators and founders. But even as a consumer, it's like I see a brand and their founder is speaking to it or whatever, and I'm like, oh, yep, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for
Yeah.
the story. So I love that. Okay, now let's jump into retention. tell me about how you think about retention. Obviously, very hand in hand with the acquisition. But I'll pass you the mic to just kind of give us the lay of the land at Rotten.
Yeah, I think retention's interesting as a very omni-channel brand. So our goal is to be available wherever you are when you're in the mood to buy candy. And so that means retail, like grocery, convenience, airports. It means, online and Amazon and TikTok Shop. And so I think retention plays an interesting role because we're not necessarily so laser focused on retaining people in one channel. Like we have to have the mindset that um, providing someone an amazing experience on our website, like they might go repurchase 4 months, 6 months later in a store. Or vice versa. Someone tries us in a store because they can buy it for $3 and then they come to our site and they buy a big bundle and subscribe. So I think, without going into like super specifics of like tactics or anything like that, like I think that's just an important mindset to have when approaching retention because it's just acknowledging the reality of like how people are buying from us and how they're going to want to buy from us. It also means that like things aren't necessarily as trackable. Like we can't just look at like our, email SMS tool and be like, those are the only customers we're retaining, or that's what retention looks like. It does have to be a broader kind of full channel, full funnel focus.
Yeah, that's the also like tale as old as time of omni-channel. Like if you're not fully D2C, and even like it happens with if you're e-commerce, but you're on a third party platform like Amazon, you still don't get that customer data. Like it really goes only D2C where you get, those retention rates of seeing like, okay, this person has shopped with us multiple times. And so I feel like that is the difficulty, but also the blessing of having different channels, because if someone wants to buy with you, you have to meet them where they are. You're not going to, it's a harder battle to win, to try and fight for them to shop in the way that's best for your brand. You want to meet them with the
Totally.
way that's preferable to shop for them, which it, like you said, it adds in terms of attribution and tracking where orders are coming from, where the retention lies. It's tougher, but I know a lot of brands will use the learnings from e-commerce to then try and translate as best as they can to retail or third-party sites. Do you feel like that's applicable where it's like, okay, we're seeing, customers online will try us with the single serves, but then they'll jump to value if they, like the taste, have a good experience?
Yeah, definitely. And I think we encourage cross-channel sales. Like you'll see us, whether it's in email or in, inserts in your order from our D2C site, you'll see us actually like push people to shop in store if there's a store that's we're showing as like super convenient to them. So I think, we want to encourage that and we want to help people see all of the different places that they can continue shopping Rotten.
Yeah, and like we started this episode out with launching nationwide at Sprouts, it's like also the retail game, how that works is like obviously you want to generate foot traffic there to show, this is a great product, people will shop and play that game too. So it's like even if D2C, you're encouraging people through email or through SMS, like, hey, go shop at Sprouts, we just launched. You're still using those channels to then feed back. Or if someone buys at Sprouts and then they see on the package, like, oh, whatever, I don't know if you have like any, callbacks to shop D2C, or like website, right? Like some little learn more, something like that. But you can then feed back into D2C. So they can, it's it's like rising tides raise all ships or something like
Lift,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, lift all boats. Yeah.
Yeah, close
Look
enough.
at me. I'm
People
helping
know what
you
I'm
out with
talking
all
about.
these.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
They know they got it. So yeah, I feel
yeah,
like that's where you can feed in with each other.
yeah, it's a great point, and I think you have to look at business health overall. Like in some ways, when you go very omni-channel, it can be helpful in certain instances to look at a specific channel, but otherwise it is less helpful because you do want to be encouraging people to buy whichever way is most convenient for them in that moment.
Yeah. And would you say that, like, do you know off the top of your head, okay, if you don't, because I'm asking you for a stat off the top of your head, but like the split in terms of channels versus like D2C third-party retail, like a rough idea?
Yeah, we launched at the end of 2023, so like a little over a year and a half ago, and we launched as a direct consumer brand. We added Amazon after that, and then we did like a couple small retail tests in 2024. This year, 2025 has been like our huge kind of retail breakout year. So right now we're still majority e-commerce, so D2C and Amazon, but we are very quickly seeing that shift as we go into, partners like Sprouts.
Yep, makes sense. Okay, cool. So, okay, retention for let's focus specifically in D2C realm. You mentioned like email, SMS. I think a lot of brands feel that like that is one of the best levers to pull of, you know, we're promoting this new product, this new flavor, this new offering. Email the customer base, send out SMS, have that channel. And I think most are familiar with it. What other channels, if any, are you leveraging for specifically online, like social media or any other like platforms that you'd call out?
Yeah, definitely with social media. And one thing we've tested is specifically, I think it's called broadcast channels,
Mm,
on Instagram. And so thinking through, and there are other tools, that do this as well, but just thinking through like how can we create small communities for like our biggest brand fans and give them exclusive access to things or deeper discounts or, whatever that looks like. One other piece we are hoping to we've tested a little and hoping to test more is like custom marketing inserts in our direct to consumer orders. So looking at being able to, not just include like the same static insert in every order, but really create flows that print on demand the insert for each order. So going back to like driving someone in store, for example, like if their delivery address is within a mile of one of our stores on our store locator, we could call that out to that customer and even include like a coupon that they can go use to buy that product in the store. So definitely trying to be kind of creative in the ways that we communicate with the customer and again encourage like that cross channel.
yeah. No, I love like custom inserts. I feel like people are, it's always a swing where it's like fully digital marketing and then sometimes like going back into more like print and display, like with more like traditional quote unquote with billboards and stuff like that. So I love that call out of trying to just be personalized and saying, hey, we know you live within this radius or whatever, like
Yeah.
go shop and here's a perk to do so. Or like if you have a late night craving, like just so you know, we're closer than maybe you would think. And I feel like I want to check the name for it, but I just saw TikTok launched like these, I think they're called boards, which I very briefly saw it, but a couple of brands that I follow, I think like sent out invites to all their followers and I think it's like a messaging board within TikTok. And I was like, that's like a community within TikTok. Have you heard about this at all? Or it was like, it might have been yesterday, like very, very new. And so I'm
Cool.
like, I have it on my to-do list to look into. And I don't know what it actually entails, but it was basically like a group chat with like they sent a message and then a bunch of people were just responding with emojis. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's like interactive in terms of, followers can engage back, but it might be like a new development from TikTok. So if you're
Cool.
looking into like social media
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check that out.
communities, yeah. So hopefully I'm advertising that correctly, but I need to look into it myself.
Sure you are.
So as everything is, right? It just gets added onto the to-do list. But okay, it makes a lot of sense around social media and whatnot. Are there any other channels you're leveraging for retention or mostly like social and email and the
Um,
inserts?
yeah, right now mostly those.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I feel like, have you seen like being able to roll out other like non-digital, like in retail? Like I know there can be it's like little tags where it's like, like any discounts in retail to get people to shop again. Have you like experimented with any of that or no? Because you're kind of like just really getting into retail.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about shelf talkers.
Yes, that's what, yeah.
Yeah, we trying to think if we've done a shelf talker program. I don't think we've done one yet. Biggest thing we've really done is kind of more so around these shippers and bringing those in store.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's also retention play, like getting people to shop if they've already shopped with you again and acquisition. Okay. And then last question, because I'm going to wrap us up here in a few. I always like to ask, are there examples of like fun campaigns that you guys have run where it's like, damn, really loved running that campaign, or like one that you guys are about to run? It could be from your brand or another brand. Like I know we mentioned Liquid Death, where it's like, I feel like in this area, I have a lot of reverence for seeing what people are doing. And I'm like, that is so creative. I love that for you. So I like to ask
Yeah.
other founders, what comes to mind when I ask that?
Yeah, I guess specifically on well, I'll give like a retention campaign we did actually, which was an email SMS campaign that we did to like randomly refund customers, and a certain number of customers were getting refunded over, a period of time. So like any amount that they purchased, if they were selected as the winner, like they would get refunded, and we would share out the winners of who got refunded during that program, like on social, so that people could see that it was really happening. And I think that was a fun one, just in terms of it's a great like promo strategy to drive sales that, again, I think just like breaks the mold of people are expecting that email with the 15% discount already. So like doing something a little more fun. Um, that was a good campaign that we did.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I feel like it's in line with like surprise and delight. Like I see this a lot with post purchase where people aren't expecting certain perks after they've already bought with you. Like they kind of already, made the decision, okay, I'm spending my money on this. And then if you can like continuously wow them either while they're waiting for their purchase or after they've gotten it, it obviously nobody will ever be upset about that.
Yeah,
That's a great
agreed.
example, Michael. This has been a joyful time to have you here. Thank you for making it a priority for you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.